The difference between a union and an intersection. A union means I say the word or, it can be in one set or the other. Intersection is the word and, which means it has to be located in both. And the way I try to remember that is if I was to put a little line right here, it makes an A and. So again, this is where they overlap. And another thing we want to remember is if we use a bracket, that's the same thing as a closed circle, or if I was to say x is greater than or equal to, for example, 3, all of those are closed and include the number. If I was to use a parentheses, that's the same thing as an open circle, or x is just greater than a number. So here's how I like to do these. So the first one is and. I need to have where they overlap. So I like to graph both of them. Here's 0, -1, 2, 3. So here's -3 with a closed circle because it has a bracket right here. And +1, 2, 3 with a closed circle again. And everything in between because it goes from -3 to +3. Then I'm going to go ahead and graph this one. At 0, I have an open circle. And at 5, I have a closed circle because of the bracket and everything in between. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to figure out and is where they overlap. So I'm going to draw lines of where these overlap. So I overlap at 0, but 0 is open, so I have a parentheses. Excuse me. And I end my overlap at 3, but since 3 is a closed circle, so here's my interval. This interval is not just the numbers 0, 1, 2, and 3. It's everything in between. So it could be 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and that's why we write it in interval notation. So let's take a look at the other one. So this one, in this case, is a union. So I'm going to draw it out again, -1, -2, -3, closed circle, 1, 2, 3, closed circle, everything in between. Then I have an open circle at 0 and a closed circle at 5 and everything in between. So, union, or, means it can be in one set or the other. So I go furthest to the left, furthest to the right, and that's my interval. I go from -3, and -3 was closed, to 5, and 5 was also closed. So this is my interval of all the numbers that could possibly be in one set or the other.